In this video, I'm going to show you how to increase the efficiency of these King's foldable solar panels by up to 40% by making your own DIY foldable stand. So these King's 120 watt solar panels are pretty neat. For the price, you just can't go wrong. And they seem to work okay. I mean, you don't get 120 watts out of them, but you weren't going to get 100% efficiency out of any solar panel anyway. My red arc typically says around about 70 watts on a good day, and I can get anywhere up to 90, 100 watts in cooler weather. But that's only when I use my DIY stand. Now, I bought these because I have a slide-on camper over the Travelanda DC4. And weight as well as space is a premium for me when I'm packing to go camping. So when you have a look at these online, you see lots of photos and videos of them stuck on the windscreen of your car, and that's great if your car just happens to be facing at the exact right angle towards the sun at the time you want to use them. Now with my car, it has the camper on the back, and if the camper's set up, I can't easily move the car anyway. But I like to move the solar panels probably a couple of times an hour when I'm set up for camping anyway, because the sun moves across from one side of the sky to the other, and the solar panels aren't going to work well when they're facing the opposite direction to the sun. But what a lot of people don't realise is that if you leave your solar panels flat on the ground, you're not going to be getting very good efficiency out of those panels. They need to be angled up anywhere between about 30 to 45 degrees, depending on the location where you are, the time of year, etc. Now, making a big, heavy, cumbersome stand kind of defeats the purpose of having these nice foldable panels. So I come up with an idea of using some cheap parts from Bunnings and mainly aluminium and stainless steel to make it super light, and it folds up in a nice flat pole type arrangement where you can store it in your drawers or down the wings of the back of your car or wherever you want to put it. And for me, they go in the drawers of the Travelanda DC4, right where the chairs and the solar panel live. Now, of course, I already have one, but I'm going to make another one because I've got a mate down with me at the moment and it's pouring with rain and quite horrible. So rather than going and playing golf, we're going to go ahead and make him a solar stand for his King's panels just like mine. So in order to do that, we have to go to Bunnings. So the first thing we're going to do is get this 30 by 30 angle and cut it into 3 sections. So the first section is going to be the longest section, and that'll be the bit that the solar blanket hangs off. The other 2 will be the primary weight bearing legs. So this section we're going to cut off at about 1250. We have to cut the 2 legs, and they're going to be about 730 each. Once you've measured the first leg and cut it, you can just slide it over the remaining angle and use that to make sure that both legs are exactly the same length. Now we move on to the 12 by 25 1 meter length that we had, and we're going to cut this just straight in half at 500.
Now that we've cut all of our lengths, we just need to go along with the flap disc and make sure that there's no sharp edges. I like to really round them off because I don't want them catching on things in the drawers and causing any damage or cutting anyone. Now we need to go along and measure for our holes that we're going to drill, and you want to start off at 150 from the end and then go along every 320. You want to make sure that there are 4 marks for the 4 holes that we'll need to put our bolts through to hold the solar blanket. You want to make sure that these holes are right in the center. These are the only holes that will be in the center out of the whole project. Now we need to mark the 2 holes for the legs to mount onto so that they can pivot. And it's important that you don't put these too high up or too centered. They need to be right down near the bottom, and they need to be about 7mm in. That way it's not going to foul when it tries to close up. So now it's time to drill the holes. I'm going to use a 4.5mm drill bit, and I'm going to do it on my drill press. If you don't have a drill press, you can always do it in a vise with a normal hand drill. Once you've drilled the 4 holes for the bolts to go through to hold the blanket on, you need to turn it over so that you can do the 2 for the legs to mount to. Once you've finished drilling all of your holes, just pop it back in the vise and use the flap disc to clean up any of the rough edges on the holes. Now we put the longer M5 bolts through. They are going to be pretty tight to fit through the 4.5mm holes. Some of them might just go through easily and some might need to be threaded through. So I'm just placing them here now, and I'll use the impact driver to just screw them in at the end. Now on mine I actually tapped these, so I didn't need to put nuts on the end of it, but I didn't have the tap here this time, so we're just going to screw nuts on the top. And I always like to put a little bit of Loctite on things that are going to be bouncing around inside with four-wheel drive. Now we need to mark our holes for our two 730 lengths of 30 by 30, and this is where it's going to mount to the top section that we've just finished. So it's going to be in a similar position. You want it not too close to the edge of the angle, and closer to the flat section of the angle itself, so that it's got enough room to pivot when it swings. So now we've got to turn the angle over and measure about 130 in, and also close to the edge just like before, and this is where we're going to mount our small 12 by 25 stabilizers. You just need to make sure that you do this on both legs, and make sure that the orientation is correct. Do a bit of a test fit, because you'll find that some things are reversed from one side to the other, and you don't want to drill the holes in the wrong place. And once you've marked those holes out, go ahead and drill those too, and it's just going to be the same 4.5mm bit that you used before. So now we're going to get those two 500 lengths of 12 by 25 angle, and we're going to put a hole in the corner just like the other legs, and this is where these are going to be able to swing out from the main legs. These holes will be about 7mm from the corner on each side. And then we head back to the drill press and just drill the last two holes out. And now it's time to bolt it all together. So we're going to start off by putting the main legs together. So here we're going to use the 12mm screws that we bought before with the big heads on them, and this is where we need to ensure that we use the stainless nylock nuts as well. The nylock nuts will stop it from undoing itself as we're pivoting the legs open and closed. Now for the last job, we've just got to put these little 12 by 25 stabilizers on, screw them through the holes that we've already drilled, and Bob's your uncle, we should be nearly finished. And there you go, there's your super light folded up solar panel stand.